Welcome to Becoming Boss C. I participated in a live virtual seminar sponsored by the Institute of Internal Auditors for the Certified Internal Auditor exam since I was studying for Part 3. Throughout this video, I will share the advantages and disadvantages of taking a live virtual course, and this is specifically with the IIA. Then I will provide additional tips and suggestions for what you should consider before registering for a live virtual seminar. All right, so here are the advantages. The first advantage is that the courses are live. This means that everything is occurring in real time and you get to ask questions with a licensed instructor who is also a certified internal auditor immediately on the spot. So something that you necessarily cannot do with self-studying is ask questions, interact with your classmates virtually, and also, of course, ask the instructor and even your classmates questions about the content. There's a chat box where you can ask questions and also make comments and to also respond to any practice questions. You have microphone access as well, so if you don't feel comfortable typing your questions, you can always just ask them out loud verbally. Secondly, there is typically always a small class size. So for my course in particular, there were only 25 people that attended the live courses. And some days it was about 23, some days 20. But if everyone was in attendance, it was about 25. So I believe that the courses may be limited to only about 25 people with the IIA's live virtual courses. That's great because it feels like you're in a regular classroom in a sense, where people are actually saying hi to you and they're also answering questions with you, and they are sharing their experiences, their experiences also from their work and also from previous exams. So they're sharing like what part of the exams they've already passed or which ones they're studying for, etc. Next, the advantage of taking a live virtual course with the IIA is that it holds you accountable. So many times when I have to study on my own, I don't really have the discipline to pick out a certain schedule to study. So with this live virtual course, I knew that from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m., I had to be tuned in to listen to the instructor and to get through the scheduled domain. So that's the great thing about attending a live virtual course. It holds you accountable because you're paying for it and you know that you don't want your money to go to waste. So it further promotes consistency and discipline in your studies. Commitment. The fourth advantage is that the instructor is generally a certified internal auditor with real-world experience in audit or maybe even accounting or any other related field. And my instructor in particular was actually a chief audit executive at a Fortune 500 company. So she definitely had immense experience, and as we were going through the content, she would actually promote some of her business practices that they actually do, and she made it a real life experience and connected the dots to what was on the paper in the textbook to what was actually, occurring in her real life as chief audit director. So that made it way more relatable and understandable. Lastly, the other major advantage of taking a live virtual course is that the recordings will be available after the course is over. So the recordings are, you're looking at a screen, right? And then you have a PowerPoint presentation in front of you. And the instructor is talking to you just like I'm talking to you right now. So the instructor, he or she is talking over voiceover. So you cannot see the instructor teaching, but you hear them and you're also looking and reading the PowerPoint slides. So these recordings are actually being recorded, or these lessons are being recorded, and you can access them even after the live course is over. So in case you missed something, or in case the instructor was covering a topic too quickly, you can always go back to your recording and watch it again to reinforce those concepts and that knowledge. All right, those are the advantages. So if you're liking this so far, go ahead and like this video and consider subscribing to the channel for more information and more videos. And also leave a comment below asking me any questions or telling me if you actually registered recently or attended and participated in a live webinar for the CIA exam or for any other exam. All right, moving on to the disadvantages. Fortunately, I have more advantages than disadvantages to taking this course. So the first disadvantage of taking the IIA's live webinar for the CIA exam is that there is limited course availability. So there are limited amounts of course offerings throughout the year. I would say there typically is one offering for a live course a month. So, for example, in my experience, my course was for Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for 2 weeks. So that meant that there were 6 sessions, and they all started right at 5 p.m. Eastern Time to 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So that worked out for me because right after work, my work ended at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, and then I would log in and tune into the course right at 5 p.m. after work. Now, this may be challenging for those who are on Central Time or Pacific Time or Mountain Time because this may actually cut into your work day. But it works out pretty well if you are on the East Coast with the Eastern Time schedule. There are different time zones and time schedules available, so you just have to choose, but they vary by month, so that could be difficult depending on which time zone you're in. Next, secondly, I would say that time allocation was not the best. It could have been better. So like I mentioned earlier, that we had 6 days of courses and they were for 3 hours each. So during really right at the beginning of each live course, the instructor asked us which areas we were most familiar with and which areas we were most unfamiliar with, or which parts were the hardest, which parts were the easiest. And so I think there was a general consensus that domain 1, business acumen, was definitely more easy. Everyone understood the concepts and topics and felt familiar with that. Now, domain 4, on the other hand, which is financial management, is what really challenged everyone. And we said that from the first day. We let the instructor know that financial management was a tough subject and chapter for us. However, the instructor asked those questions, but the teachings did not reflect or did not even consider our opinions. So many days were spent on domain 1. I feel like we had at least 2.5 days that were just spent on domain 1, business acumen, but we were all familiar with those. Like, we knew all about those topics. Whereas when it came time to discuss domain 4, financial management, we only had about 1.5 days to get through financial management. So that meant that we didn't get through all the practice questions. She did not discuss all the topics in her presentation. And so while you could go back and read your study book by yourself, you could also review the PowerPoint slides by yourself. It really could have been enhanced. The experience could have been enhanced if the instructor had tailored the course to know what we struggled with the most and spent less time on the areas that we were most familiar with. All right, next I'll go over some tips, things that I wish I would have done differently had I known what this experience would be like beforehand. So first, I would say that I would have aimed to read the study book as the teacher was giving her lectures. So for example, we had classes on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I wish that I would have gone ahead and started reading the book maybe prior to the first course date, or even maybe in between. So on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and on the weekends, I should have been reading in between our live course sessions. That would have just helped me retain the information better and to also have an understanding of the topics that were going to be discussed before she actually gave her lecture. Secondly, I wish that I had registered in advance of the course. So I would say allow time for the Institute of Internal Auditors to ship your learning materials, so register at least a month in advance of when you think you're going to take the course, because there may be shipping delays or unknown things that could impact the delivery times for your learning materials. In your learning materials, you will receive a study book and also a notebook for taking notes that contain PowerPoint slides that he or she will go over, as well as practice questions and answers to those practice questions. Lastly, think about your learning style when you're considering if you should take a live webinar course for the CIA exam. So, do you retain information better when you are studying alone? Or do you need a more flexible studying schedule? Do you need a more structured studying schedule? Or do you need to be held accountable for consistency and for discipline? So do you need those predetermined dates and times in which you have to log in and study and listen to your instructor teach? You really have to consider all of those things before you purchase your exam webinar sessions and before you determine which style is best for you. So thank you for watching. This is the end of my learning experience video. I hope that you enjoyed it. Of course, comment below any questions that you have or any comments that you have. And then also go ahead and like this video if you found some of this information to be helpful, and consider subscribing for more helpful videos about different topics for CIA exam or CPA exam, etc. As always, stay blessed and stay boss C.